Hi, I'm Yo from Hand2mind, and this is Lux the dog. Today we're going to read a story about how Lux the dog became friends with his best friend, Millie the cat. So if you're ready to read, let's get started. This is the second grade, week 4, day 4 of the Teach at Home series, and we're going to get into it right now. Today's lesson is going to be focused on finding the main ideas in stories and then finding details to support that main idea. Let's get started. A very common question people ask me is, what did you do today? A very common answer I may have is, well, today I went to the zoo. Then they might ask me, well, what did you do at the zoo? To which I would probably answer something like this. I saw a bear, I saw a snake, and I ate pizza from the food stand. Those can be supporting details to support your trip to the zoo. So now, when you say you went to the zoo, you can give these details to let people have more of an idea of what you did while you were at the zoo. Those are called supporting details. The great thing about supporting details is oftentimes you can just hear supporting details and make an assumption or make a guess of what they might have done. So if somebody says to you, today I saw a bear, I saw a snake, and I ate pizza from the food stand, you can ask yourself, where could somebody see a bear, a snake, and get pizza from the food stand? And a very good answer to that would be, they might have gone to the zoo. So that's a great example of how even just getting supporting details can help you find out what the main idea is of a story. So, every story should have a main idea. And now, the author or person writing that story is probably not going to tell you what the main idea is. So you, as the reader, have to figure that out for yourself. Well, how do you figure out the main idea? While you're reading, you look for supporting details. Here, I've drawn a diagram that shows the main idea on top of 3 supporting details. Of course, when you're reading a book or a story, you could find many more than 3 supporting details, but for the sake of this activity, we can get away with just looking for 3. So, let's go ahead and move on. But before we do, let's talk about supporting details. What are supporting details? So, details, for the most part, are just small parts of the story. They could either be phrases, meaning a few words, sometimes just one word, or they could be whole sentences. Sometimes they can even be more than one sentence. Another thing you could look out for is patterns, words or phrases that are repeated a lot. Many stories have a theme, and in that theme, there are a few words that they are going to repeat and repeat and repeat. And that helps you figure out what the main idea is. Another great supporting detail can be what is called text features. Text features can be what's on the cover of a book. What is the title of the book? Or does the book have pictures? If so, look at the pictures and maybe that can give you hints as to what the main idea of the story is. So let's read a story. This story is called Lux and Millie Make Up. Now, we're going to read this story one time through, and then we're going to talk about what the main idea is and what are some supporting details. So if you're ready, read along, and we'll begin now. Lux the dog lived next door to Millie the cat. Every day, Millie would hop into Lux's yard and scratch her back on Lux's bushes. This made Lux very angry. As soon as the back door was open, Lux would race outside to catch Millie, only to miss her by a hair every single time. One day, Lux had an idea. If I hide in the bushes, Lux thought, then Millie won't see me. Then, when she comes, I can catch her. So Lux hid in the tallest bush. As he waited, his back got very itchy. He tried to scratch, but he could not reach the itch. He rubbed against a bush, but he was still itchy. By the time Millie came over the fence, Lux was rolling on the ground so itchy that he didn't even see Millie. All of a sudden, Lux felt the perfect scratch on his back, and the itch went away. When he turned around, he saw Millie using her sharp claws to scratch Lux's back. Lux was so happy he thanked Millie and promised never to chase her again. They became friends for the rest of their days. So based on what we just read, I'm able to come up with a main idea that pretty much brings everything together into one small, easy-to-read message, and that is, after not getting along, Lux and Millie learn to become friends. Fairly simple, right? And it ties it all together, but in order to really support that main idea, we want to look for details from the story that really kind of tell us that that main idea that we came up with is correct. So let's look at the story. Let's look for some supporting details from the story that kind of tell us that Millie and Lux learn to get along after not getting along. They learn to become friends. So first, let's look for some supporting details that show that they weren't getting along. Well, here we have a pretty good example from the story of that. Millie would hop into Lux's yard, and this made Lux very angry. So that to me looks like a pretty good supporting detail. So we can put that in our little diagram here. Lux got very angry when Millie went into his yard. Great. Now, we can look through the story and maybe see some supporting detail that might show us a problem that maybe needed to be solved, which is usually pretty common in a story. And here, I see something about Lux's back getting very itchy and he wasn't able to scratch it. So he saw Millie using her sharp claws eventually to scratch Lux's back. That looks like a pretty good supporting detail. Lux got very itchy and couldn't scratch it himself, so Millie came and scratched it for him. Wonderful. And then the last part is really the most important part of the story, and that is Millie and Lux learning to become friends. So let's look for supporting details that support that. So if I'm looking in here, I see at the very end, Lux was so happy, he thanked Millie and promised never to chase her again, and they became friends for the rest of their days. That to me is a great supporting detail that supports our main idea that says, once again, after not getting along, Lux and Millie learned to become friends. Wonderful. So now we just read a story, came up with a main idea that tells us what the story is about, and then we're able to find 3 wonderful supporting details to support that main idea. And there could have been other supporting details that you found. It doesn't have to just be 3. You could have looked at the title. And there were many other sentences that could have been used as great supporting details. Well, thank you so much for following along. If you'd like to see more resources, please visit hand2mindathome.com, and we'll look forward to seeing you in future lessons. Goodbye.